Yes.
Awesome. Good. So Kevin, today what we are going to be discussing is your resume. Okay.
Yes.
And interestingly, there are many different kinds of resumes. There are people with experience, there are people without experience. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a discussion about resumes and how we present ourselves. It's not just about Kevin, but it's also about understanding different use cases, and we will go through those discussions. So what we're going to do for the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes is, Kevin, you present. And ideally, what would be good is you just talk about what your experience is, what your background is, and then show your resume. Because a lot of times what's on your resume may not reflect exactly who you are as an individual. So just introduce yourself and talk about yourself. And when you're ready, you can share your resume.
I have two different slides. The first one
Okay.
is it is about my introduction.
Huh.
Okay. And what I have learned in the past 1 year from college. And the second one is my resume. So there, the challenge is that how do I place information in a way that it gets noticed? So that is the goal today.
Sure.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Let me just. So, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. My name is Kevin Henriquez. My current role is I'm a business strategist. I'm learning UX design, especially interaction design and user research. My background is that I am from a commerce background. I've done my graduation, and I've also enrolled into the college UX intensive program of 1 year from now. So I live at Mumbai, Maharashtra. So the goal for this presentation is if my beginner UX resume is good enough for the recruiters. Okay, so this is what I've learned as an assignment on a regular basis. So I've done interaction design. I have two projects on the same. One is Rent Easy and second one is a capstone. On a weekly basis, we get feedback, and this is what I have learned in a different every week, you can say, and it lasts.
Okay. I'm not able to see your screen. It just says loading. I'm not sure if that is something.
I think so. I have an internet problem. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Your hearing and video is no problem, but it just says your screen that you're sharing is just saying loading. Yeah, now we can see your screen, but when you go into slideshow mode, it doesn't show.
Now let me check.
No, it's still not sharing.
So fine. Is it fine this way?
Yeah, it's fine that way.
Prasad.
Yeah.
I think he should, when he gives sharing permission, he should save the entire window instead of a particular slide.
Okay, I'll do that.
Sharing problem. So stop sharing and reshare and see if that helps.
I need to be so specific.
Yeah, because you're telling Zoom.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, let me stop sharing.
Thanks, Simran. Thanks for helping us debug this.
I hope that works.
So,
and now it's your credibility
right?
On the line, right?
But now again, there is all this, everything will show. So there's much of distraction.
That's okay. You don't have to worry about it. Once you get into slideshow mode, it'll be fine.
Now, is it fine?
Yeah.
So I did my interaction design from UX and from college, and it was on a regular basis. And I have these two assignments, and I also did user research. This is what I have learned from college, and I have two assignments again on the same. And also I've done, experience design audit. So I have this. I had done this evaluation of a product called Motherhood India. So now help me put this information on a resume so that it can be noticed by recruiters. So now I have to change my screen. Yeah, this is my resume. 1 minute. Now is it fine?
Yeah.
So I wrote my name over here and the title for what I'm looking. And this is my personal information over here. So now I'm putting all this information on the top so that they can notice that I have learned interaction design, and just giving a glimpse of what the process we follow at college. and also a link so that they can quickly go and check if they're interested. And same for all the projects. And now I'll talk about my work experience. So I was an independent business strategist. I started from June 2019. So my role over there was to reduce marketing budget by 20. I mean, my success was I reduced the marketing budget by 28.87% in the first 6 months. And also you can see that decrease employee attrition. I'll just talk about some points of it, and also help them get top ranking. And my probably the second job what I had, it was marketing and sales, again independent. I was helping small scale business create awareness, branding, and at the early stage, and also campaign. And my full time job was from Tata Business Support, where I went into pre sales. Uh, I was I participated in one of the biggest IPO, real estate IPO in Navi Mumbai, and I closed deal with NRIs. And again, my academics, I said before, I am a graduate, currently still into the program of the intensive. Tools, what I know is Figma, Mixpanel, Google Analytics, and interest you can see. My hobbies, electric vehicles and video game. Language, I know, sadly, to Hindi and English. And my skills are wireframe, prototyping, and components. Thank you. This is it.
Curious. You don't know Marathi?
No, I'm ashamed of it.
Good. So,
because there was a problem, right? My dad knows Marathi and my mom knows Konkani. So instead of learning 4 languages, I decided to learn English or Hindi.
you optimized. Awesome. So, okay. So, I'm going to give about 5-10 minutes for everybody to look at this, let this sink in. I think the core challenge is not about building a resume. And this is what I want to, for everybody to think about. It's not about building a resume, but it's about marketing yourself, right? It's about communicating that you can deliver value to any company that you join, right? So that is the goal. So everybody look at this, if you want Kevin to kind of scroll up or down, you can, he'd be happy to do that. But I'm going to give you about 15 minutes. You can react and then share your thoughts, and then I will go in after that. Yeah, raise your hand if you want to speak, and then I'll just call you on. So, Shrikar, do you want to ask a question? So go ahead, unmute yourself and feel free to jump in.
Yeah. So I just wanted to turn my camera off even speaking so that there's
Shrikar, your audio is very low. We are not able to hear you.
Able to hear.
okay. So the question that I have is, Kevin, who do you think will be evaluating?
So we can't hear you, Shrikar. Okay, no worries. While
am I audible now?
yes,
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah. So Kevin, who do you think will be evaluating a resume?
See, I assume the recruiter first, and before that also the ATS.
The ATS. Okay. Okay. So if it is the let us say an HR initially will be evaluating a resume, or even the ATS.
What is ATS?
Application tracking system.
Okay, so it's a software. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you built this resume keeping in mind about these two elements, saying that it will be processed in ATS, right? And also the HR who will be looking into the resume. So have you prepared this resume keeping both of these factors in mind?
See, now the challenge is that for me to understand, that is the goal, right? So what information should be placed on the top so that the recruiters can have build some interest on the particular prospect. And second thing is, I think for ATS, I think you need this relevant. They say that you have to put some metrics over here and also underline some keywords related to your domain, like prototyping and all this wireframing components design system. I don't know much about design systems, so I have not done that, not put that. But yeah, that is what I have to say about this.
Okay, because email, let us say the HR might not be knowing the design language, right? So, I mean, most of the terminology that you have used in the resume is with regards to the UX design terminology. Let us say heuristic evaluation, CRUD, and everything. So, even it's, let's say, if the ATS is tracking this, do you think it will be reading the information that's there in the resume?
I actually don't know about this, because see, if you can see one thing over here, I have used all the terms which were taught to me, but I have also given a link over here. So if they really feel and they don't understand, then they can click on this link. Mostly, if they don't understand, they'll reject the resume. But yeah, it is a guess that they might click over here and check my artifacts.
Okay, got it. That's it from me.
Good. Thanks, Rikar. Anybody else? So, Bhaskar, go for it.
So, Kevin, only one thing which I didn't, I mean, you just put it at optimum level of information. That is very, I mean, good part of it. But the challenge which I find is one in terms of this, you have arranged your projects here. But what are these? I'm not able to understand unless and until you speak it out. Right? You say it's a rent easy project or something. I'm not able to understand because there is no heading kind of section stating that these are the things.
Oh yeah, I did not put a title for what is rent easy, right? And what I've done.
Yeah. So now the other challenge is now you had 2 capstone quick read, and then again in user research you have 2 formative research. So is it the formative research is the second point of research, or how is it connected to this whole project you're showing?
It is a second project capstone, right? And I did not have a title for that. I could only have I written over here. I mean, just mention here formative research, and then I gave the problem statement over here.
Right. So now how many projects are you showcasing? Is it 5 or how many things?
It is 5 together, yeah. 2 from the interaction, 2 from the research, and 1 from the design.
It would be much more better in terms of, like you say, interaction. You have 2 projects. Right now it's not communicating. Rent easy is 1, and then capstone is 2. Right. I mean, that hierarchy is missing in terms of all these things. And the other part is now you have prioritized all the projects on the top, right? Even before explaining your thing. And there is no description about yourself, like why should I care about looking at your projects?
You're talking about objectives, right?
Right, objectives.
Now, yeah, I thought about this, and I'm sorry to cut you, but I thought about this, and I said that let the session happen. I can ask this to Prasad that is it nowadays, is it a good practice to have an objective and even about cover letters and all? So yeah,
exactly. So when, let's say you have applied to this and then a person is looking at it, right? Now, first thing is cannot understand these other projects because HR doesn't know what is interaction and all, right? First thing. And then what is your experience is much more important for HR, right? So you are starting out or you have a relatable experience from previous domains, and how would you actually provide the same experience into this job role? So that's what they are trying to look at, right? So which is why I think your experience needs to be prioritized more than your projects, right? Whatever your projects are there. And then once they meet that, okay, this person has certain experience, then they look at your projects. Right? So because even in your projects, when you show, you have exactly the same thing, which is kind of a artifact level things like user persona you have done. Now, when you go back, I mean, the interesting thing you have done is when you have went to that job role. Right? In your job role, what have you done? You have written it in a sentence. Can you scroll it down?
Where?
Yeah, business strategist, right? Now, here you have explained that created reduced marketing budget by 28%. So this way of communication strikes it. Right? So what did you do? We are able to understand. Okay, you have met something, but the same kind of thing you need to practice in your user personas or in your project in Rent Easy. So
Yeah.
what did you do? Right? You reduce the steps or identify the main problem. That's what you need to communicate there, which
Yeah.
hits the interest first to click on your link. If not, there is no thing. So it's just like, okay, we have a box of items. This is the contact. I mean, this is the context, and this is the headings. That's what it looks like right now.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. I'll try to arrange this. Actually, first I went with this thing, with Figma. I had a template, and I got feedback that go with docs so that it is not about the aesthetics, but don't need to have something very visually looking good. So I did docs, and here it was a big challenge to do something and put the segregation or this thing. So
And you have
I get feedback on this.
You have any skills you have listed down, right? Your skills.
Skills, yeah.
Right. So again, these are more kind of artifacts you are talking about. So what are your skills? You didn't highlight it anyway. So skills
Can
are.
you give an example?
So what are the skills, right? So I mean, are these design skills you're talking about? Because your experience talked about in a business perspective, right?
Okay.
Now you have only the 3 artifact kind of things which are in a design centric, right? So I mean, what are your what skills do you want to highlight? Have you thought about it?
Skills, I mean, see, now again, you give me one example. I mean, see, I know, as per my previous job, so I do, like, I have this reducing kind of thing, working with resource management, right?
Right.
And also working with how do I reduce the attrition and increase ranking for the school, right? So I work at a school independently. So yeah, that is what it is.
So it's more like how you collaboratively work in terms of with different stakeholders, right? To solve. So that's what your skill is.
Yeah, you can say communication.
No. So collaborative working is your kind of thing. I mean, how you collaborate with others, not communication. Communication comes later, but yeah. So what now in, let's say, in terms of design skills, right? So let's say you have done interaction, right? So what kind of skills does a let's say idealistic interaction designer should have?
Is create experiences. Identify
That should be your skills, right? If you want to highlight it as an interaction designer.
Oh, okay. I'll do that. Now I get it.
Right. So you need to think in those lines, like what role you are applying and then how you are prioritizing. Because here right now, these are the 3 artists.
Yeah.
And everyone has these skills. Now, how is it different?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Thank you. Yes.
So you are on mute.
You're on mute, Prasad.
Sorry, go ahead, Garima. You need to unmute yourself.
यस सर सर मुझे एक चीज समझ नहीं आई थी सर आपने हॉबीज में इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल लिखा है तो उससे हम कैसे समझेंगे कि इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल बनाना या ड्राइव करना मतलब कैसे समझ आएगा वो
So firstly you call me Kevin. Electric vehicle as in see, I love riding it, even driving it, and I love to sell it. I love doing marketing for it, and I building campaigns for it. So this is what it is. And in fact, if I write more things, it is going to be very confusing. I also love batteries, right? So I'm much more into it also. But again, I don't have a degree, so there is no opportunity for me. And then again, in electric vehicles, see, I don't want to make it very this thing. I mean, writing a lot of things. I also love aerodynamics now. So that's why I wrote it very straightforward that electric vehicle, if somebody asks me, I can, yeah, what's the trend going on? I can just say that easily. That was my
Okay, sir.
this thing.
So
Nothing.
Kevin, I just have a question. What's the difference between a battery and a capacitor?
Capacitor.
Huh. Because both of them store energy and discharge, right?
Capacitor does not store energy, right?
Yeah,
Capacitor
capacitors
is
store
something
energy and discharge.
which is in the fan. We use it in the fan, right?
Yeah, so it'll store energy and then it'll give you the starting. So when you start a device, what happens is, if you say it's rated for, let's say, 100 watts, the starting wattage might be 500 watts. Okay.
So
And
what
then
is
a steady
capacitor
state
doing?
might be 100 watts. So what happens is the capacitor stores that excess energy and then it'll suddenly discharge it to give you the 500 when you're starting.
No, because now I have not heard about capacitor when it comes to fan. That is okay, but when I went on the workshop, I know something about BMS, right?
Huh.
So they use BMS over there.
Okay.
Capacitor is, I don't know, they may be using as a component in BMS, but yeah, BMS is what very much used nowadays. Every vehicle needs a BMS. Otherwise, it will not charge properly and it won't discharge also.
Okay, so you may want to do some research.
Yeah.
Good. So, all right. Any other questions? Go ahead, Prati. Go ahead, Prati. We can't hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
I think Dharma is saying something. That's why I stopped. I just wanted to know about the indexing, the numbering. Say there is 2 somewhere and there is nothing somewhere. So what's indexing basically you are following here? If you like, yeah, it's 2 and then where is 1 kind of thing. Then again, it's 2. Like, what's the pattern of indexing here?
Yeah. Cool, I'll do that.
Yeah, because I just got confused. It is under interaction design. It is a separate heading, like kind of thing.
No, actually, yeah, there is some problems with how I place all these labels over here, because this is stock and it took me a lot of time. But when I'll do it on a Figma file, I think so it would be much better than this, and everything could be just in a layout format so that it is very easy to read.
No, I'm just about to say that if it's heading, then
Oh,
follow.
yeah, interaction is in
convention.
heading.
Like
Project 1 is rent easy. Project 2 is capstone.
Okay. Like if it's like it should be 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing, and if there is no heading, there should be no heading in.
Yeah, I know. As of now, it is not so straightforward to know, but still, I'll do something over when I go in a vector tool or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? I will jump in. I'll give another 3 more minutes, and after that, I'll start my feedback. Go ahead, Akash.
So Kevin, I have this question, like, why is your resume is in 2 page? Like, why is it not in 1 page?
So talking about this 2 pages, right?
Yes.
So I don't think so there is a standard way. I mean, if you just need to have 1 page or something, because I've seen resume going up to 5 pages. So if you have a reason that I should not have more than 1 page, please let me know. It will help me.
So, like, as per my knowledge, you should be using at least 1 page. You should be, summarizing whatever your skills or experiences in 1 page only. If at all, if you have an experience or you're an outstanding person, you can stretch it to 2 pages, not more than that. And second thing is, you have, literally done the manual work for creating a resume in Word. I would strongly suggest to, use existing platforms that helps you, create a resume in seconds, and that too are ATS friendly.
Yeah, cool. I'll do that. And one more thing, here, this specific area, you can see this. Here, I can write my skills over here, but because it was a doc, I thought I'll put it down. I could not manage everything over here. So if I go to a vector tool, I can put this everything over here. So this all things would be reduced and I can place this up.
Yeah, and I see, like, I would not say it's not bad, but I see some irrelevant things like hobbies that, really doesn't matter. Like, what matters is you're trying to get a UX job and you're trying to make a transition. And I don't think the hobbies that you mentioned, electric vehicle video games, would be of, would be much relevant, the language and hobbies. Or I have seen like in some resumes, people put date of birth, their addresses. So I would suggest you to, eliminate that thing. Or if you want to keep that, so you can keep it. But that is my recommendation.
Cool.
Thank you, Akash. Lukman, you want to go next, and after Lukman, I will go. Go ahead, Lukman.
Yeah, my question is to you, like, do we need to give a link for every project, or like providing a link for every project in a single link?
You're asking me?
I'm asking to Prasad.
Yeah.
So I would say having a link doesn't actually make it, it's not negative. But at the same time, it may have some positive outcome, because if somebody decides they're going to click on it, it would be valuable. But if nobody decides to click on it, then it's not really negative. Does that answer your question, Lukman? Okay, so I guess he's probably having challenges. Okay, so Kevin, I'm gonna, there were a lot of really good questions, but I think the questions were not, they weren't, I think, communicated in a more direct manner, right? So, for example, Shrikar, okay, Shrikar had a really good point. The question is like, okay, how are you? Because when your resume starts, it has to go through some kind of software to get noticed, and then the HR is going to look at it, right?
Yes.
So the question is, what are you doing for the software? Okay. Now the challenge that I would say to you is, you don't necessarily know what job you're applying for. And again, when you're starting off, it's really important that you customize. There'll always be 5-10% customization every time you apply for a job. You cannot just take a standard resume and apply to all the jobs. Okay. So can you give me an example? Like, just open a new tab and show me a job that you want to apply to. Right? So this is the same thing as doing design, because when you're doing design, you're doing your research, you're trying to understand who your end user is, and you're connecting your design to that end user, isn't it? So is there a particular job that you want to apply for?
Okay. You want LinkedIn?
Yeah, just click on any one of them. That's fine. Click on any one that appeals to you. Which job appeals to you?
Not this one. This is.
Yeah. So once you look at a job and you find a job that you will really apply for, then we will customize our resume for that.
Maybe Geo.
Okay. I mean, don't say maybe. Look at it and say, guarantee I want to apply to this. And then we will get started.
But now that type 1, type 3 should not be identified, right?
See, you're still starting off your career at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you have a disadvantage that you do not necessarily have a degree on your hand, right?
Yes.
However, you do have an advantage that you have not talked about, and I will talk about it in the end. Okay.
Okay.
So, but now you need to figure out, find a job that you want to apply to. Let's not worry about type 1, type 3, right? Find me an ideal job that you want to apply to and tell me, Prasad, this is what I want to apply for.
Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah.
So you're applying for a senior UX role?
No, junior.
So that's a senior UX role there in the description.
So now I think I have to go and change the search query, right? It is showing the same.
Okay, just choose one. That's fine.
Yeah, look at this part.
All right. So, 1 second.
Kevin, this was has 3 to 5 years experience.
Now that's what I'm saying. If you have a link, please send it to me. I'll open it right away.
Please try to search entry level something, keyword, something.
Yeah, there will be a filters on the top.
If we change the filters there,
Yeah, on the top.
the top experience level, yeah.
Internship?
Entry level.
Internship and entry level.
Yes.
Okay, let me take this book, my show.
Okay, cool. Now
I
scroll
see
up.
a lot of things when I went to all these three descriptions. I see that they ask for user flow, they ask for collaborating with other stakeholders, and they ask for many of this.
Right. So now what I want you to do is open a little notepad document or a notes document if you're using Mac. Just open a little window and we will copy and paste words, okay, that are jumping out at us. And again, this is simply, you look at the resume and you start customizing it, okay? So create a new note.
I have to pull this down.
Okay, I think you can probably just type it in. So let's look at the keywords. Okay. So I know Nivya is asking, should you use vector tools to build resume? No, vector tools I would not recommend because application tracking systems will struggle with vector tools. Ideally, PDF, systems are very comfortable with reading words in PDF. And I think PDF documents are the best for creating a resume. But now let's look at this. So let's look at all the words in there and see what are important, right? Collaborating with product design, management, and engineering. So highlight that and paste it here. Right? And then the next one is implement solutions for final visuals and experience. Okay, so that's one word.
Sorry.
The second one is implement innovative solutions for final visuals and experience. So they've basically called out visuals very, very clearly. Right? Now collaborate effectively with UX designers to achieve desired outcomes. Now that is very, very interesting. So that's fine. Don't do that. So it's all collaboration. It's still under collaboration. So sharing ideas early for feedback, right? And open to testing and iteration. So testing and iterations is another keyword that you want to put in there. Okay. Conceptualizing ideas is another thing. Conceptualizing original ideas. Okay. Now, this is a very bit of a contradictory kind of a JD, because if you look at it, they're saying it's an interaction designer, but they're also now thinking about you want to create visuals and all that. You can see some contradictions in there, but that's not a big deal. So there's creating micro interactions, layouts, and patterns. So they're basically looking for design patterns, right? So this is what that one of their core statements is. Okay. Now, present and defend. So presentation skills is something they're asking for. And documentation, presentation skills and documentation. And then they're basically saying promote design guidelines. So they're basically saying promote the process. So most likely you will be asked about what is your process. Okay.
Guidelines. I'm not getting this.
So it says promote design guidelines, best practices and standards, right? So essentially what they're saying is, I want to know what your process is. Do you have a process for what you're doing and are you able to promote it? Okay. Now let's look at the ideal candidate. Let's scroll down and see it a little bit, right? So demonstrable UI skills with a strong portfolio. So they will definitely look for a portfolio, right? So just type in the word portfolio. Okay. Deep understanding of the role of an interaction designer in promoting usability and learnability. So this is another thing they're looking for, usability and learnability, right? So you just have to copy usability and learnability, nothing else. And this is a very common, just if you just did this for 5 minutes, what would be really easy is, once you look at it and you just basically understand what the keywords are, now you're saying, okay, what parts have I done? What have I not done? Okay. So a basic understanding of ergonomics. Okay, good. An understanding of the role of emotion and feedback. So that's good. Ability to build and align a design system. Now this is important. So are you able to do with design systems? So design systems is another one. So are you able to create a design system or consume a design system? So that's the component that they're basically looking at. Okay, so just put that in. Ability to build and align to a design system. Okay, now proficiency, now the tools that they basically said is Photoshop, Illustrator, Figma, or other design tools. Okay, so motion design tools similar to After Effects, a proficient use will be an added edge. So that's interesting. So they are basically looking for some kind of motion design tools, which kind of goes back to micro interactions, which is in my sense, it's a contradiction, because motion design tools and all those things are done, yes, an interaction designer can do them, but it's too granular, but at the same time, I would say, okay, fine. Let's see. So visual skills, no. So UI trends is fine. A love of storytelling animation. So this is something, storytelling. So they're basically looking for very strong presentation skills. Right. And again, notice they've used the word micro interactions again. So this is clearly something that they want. Micro interactions is definitely a non-negotiable for them. Okay, they've said micro interactions, then they've also said as part of the tools, they have said, oh, you have not copied and pasted the tools.
Okay, 1 minute.
Right. If you look at the tools, which is proficiency in Photoshop, Illustrator, Figma, it's on the top. I think it's the 4th or the 5th point under ideal candidate.
Yeah.
So, but then what they're saying is they want motion design tools similar to After Effects. Okay. So this is very interesting. Now scroll down. Yeah, type in motion design, because it seems to me like just by looking at it, they are going to be non-negotiable on motion design. Okay. Now, clearly, when you look at that, which of these have you done? Which of these have you not done? Okay. Can you just type in yes, no next to everyone?
None of them, Prasad.
None of them?
Because then this thing changes, right? The title I have given, because they say web flow, user flow.
No. So read it and tell me yes or no. I know you've done a bunch of stuff, which it's kind of sad that me as your teacher knows more what you have done than you yourself are claiming you have done. So look at that notes document. Go back to the notes document and just type in yes or no. Now maximize that window. I don't want to look at anything else.
Which one? Only the note one.
Only the notes. Let's not worry about anything. Maximize that window.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not maximized. Okay. Now let's look at what are all the things you have done. Have you done usability?
Yes.
So you do have some level. So notice up on top, you say the third point that you have typed up on top, testing and iterations.
Testing and
Right.
iterations.
Have you done that? Have you done testing?
User testing. I mean, what they're asking about research.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's a yes. Go ahead, type in yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is a very interesting one. The first one, collaborating with product design, management, and engineering. Okay. Have you done that?
No, this is going to be my first job. Yeah.
But what did you do as a business analyst? Who did you collaborate with?
With the management.
Okay. And
especially actually they had a team of all the marketings and MBAs, so I collaborated with them.
So you collaborate with management as well as marketing folks.
Yeah, the recruiting team and also the directors.
Okay, put that in there. So even though you do not have direct experience, right, you have done some sort of collaboration, correct?
Yes.
So we give you a half point. Again, unless and until you claim the point, nobody is going to give you the point for free.
Yeah.
Right? So say give it half a point. So right next to it, write 1 by 2. Collaborate with product design, management, and engineering. No, the point number 1, not testing and iteration, man. Point number 1.
Acha for collaboration.
.5. Good. Implement innovative solutions for final visuals. Have you done any visual design?
Yeah, I've done.
Okay, so give it another 0.5. Testing and iterations, give it another 0.5. Right? Because you probably tested, but you did not do the iteration. Is that correct? Or have you tested and done the iteration?
No, I have done the for the iteration is you have one thing and then you try to iterate on that same, right?
No,
like
so you test it, you get the feedback and you modify your design. Have you done that?
Yeah, it's
Yes, no.
Yes.
Okay, give yourself a point then, 1 point. Okay. Have you conceptualized original ideas?
Yeah, normally I do.
So not normally, specifically on a project. Again, keep in mind, we are not going to lie on our resume, right? We are going to be completely honest. But whatever we have done, we have to accurately communicate it. Okay. Give me an example where you have conceptualized original ideas.
Some ideas. No, I can't recall specifically.
Okay, when you were doing Quick Meet, what did you do? Did you design it from the ground up?
Because we was not having any, we had no data with that, right? So
yeah, so that is conceptualizing original ideas.
Okay.
Right. So you basically had nothing. You conceptualized the idea. You basically explored different solutions and then you proposed one, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is exactly what conceptualizing original ideas is. It's like, did anybody tell you what to do or did you do it by yourself?
My own.
Give yourself a point there. Right. Good. Now, have you done design patterns? Have you created any design patterns or leveraged design patterns?
So, no.
No, you have not done any design patterns?
I made a component level, but I don't know if I call it a design pattern.
A component is a design pattern, man. So a design pattern is a combination of interactions,
actually, I'm a bit confused,
and response system.
Okay, fine, I'll do that.
No, have you done it or not?
Yes.
You're like, you've done it, but you're not, you don't know you've done it. That's the point, right? So you have to understand. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to focus you on the language. See, the language that the job person who's got the job, let's say they're speaking language A. You need to understand what language they're saying and you need to be able to communicate in the same language. right?
Yeah.
So this is exactly what we're doing in the systematic. But you cannot give yourself a point. Have you done micro interactions when you did the component level work?
Micro interactions.
Like when you click on something, something else will happen. Have you done that design work?
Yes, that. I mean, similarly, we call it UI sheets, right?
Okay, so you've done that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So have you presented your work and documented your work?
Yes.
Okay, give yourself 0.5. Just based on the documentation you are doing so far, I'm cutting half a mark there. Okay. Now, have you leveraged design guidelines, or have you created a design guideline, or have you leveraged a design guideline?
No.
No. Okay, give yourself a 0. Now, do you have a portfolio?
Yes.
Give yourself a 1. Now, interestingly, your resume does not have a link to a portfolio anyway. Right? You have links to individual projects, but you do not say clearly that you want a portfolio. So in ATS, if you were to look for the keyword portfolio, it will never find the keyword portfolio on your document and say there's no portfolio there.
Exactly.
Right? So now usability and learnability. So have you done any work around usability and learnability? So usability is how well are people able to use the product? So if you're looking at how people use it, what are the challenges? Learnability is how quickly are they able to learn your features.
Yes.
Have you done work on this?
Yes. Usability testing.
Okay, but learnability.
Let's look at learnability.
Are you aware of learnability?
Yeah, how fast they learn and they understand.
But have you done anything with learnability in mind? That, if somebody asks you, what have you done for learnability?
No, not that specific.
Okay, then give yourself 0.5. Okay. Now, this building and aligning a design system, no, you haven't really built and aligned the design system. Is that right?
Yes.
Have you done the visual design?
Yeah, but skipped a lot of projects.
Did you qualify?
No, I mean the exams are.
Okay, then give yourself a 0, because if you qualify, then you will have the experience to do that. Have you done rapid prototyping?
Yeah, with the Rent Easy one and the Quick Meet one.
Okay, yes, put 1. Storytelling, animation, narrative styles. So 1, 0 or 0.5?
0.5.
No, 0.25 or probably 0.
Okay.
No, not on micro interaction. There's a point on top of that. Below. Yeah. So between micro interactions and above and proficiency in rapid prototyping.
I forgot to put a space. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Micro interactions. Have you done any micro interactions?
Yes.
For what?
I mean, we look how does the component interacts and with the UI states here.
Okay, so give yourself 0.25. So I understand what they're looking for and what you have. So it's probably not a direct match. Okay. So what they're looking for is with a micro interaction is something kind of a jazzy, how do you transition between screens, or how do you transition from one state to another state? So that's what they're looking for. Okay. So Simran says like grid. And you probably do not have that experience, but you probably have micro interaction level experience at a component level. Okay. So that's why I'm saying it's not a perfect match. I'd say 0.25. Now, of all of these tools, do you have proficiency in any of the tools?
Not proficiency. I mean, a normal user. So I can give it 0.25.
No. So the question is, so this is something maybe Saurabh or somebody can answer. Saurabh, how would you grade his tool competency?
Yeah, 0.25, what he's saying.
Okay, cool. To 5. Yeah. Motion design, let's give it a 0.
0.
Okay. So just by noticing, and I'm not saying that whether you'll get the job or not, right? But the most important thing, this is what Shrikar was trying to say, is, well, who are you applying for? Okay, so clearly now these are the skills that they're looking for. These are the skills that I have. Now, what you do is you look at your resume. How many of these keywords are available on a resume? For everything that you have, like let's say 0.5 or 1 that you have scored, do you have those words in your resume?
No.
Right? Chances are 0, right? And so that is what is the first step you need to do, is literally just look at these jobs, okay? And try to understand what are the titles, what specific skill sets everybody is asking for, and then you start implementing them. Again, don't lie, but make sure that you are getting credit for what you have done.
Yeah.
Okay. So Venus says, what does the word promote design guidelines mean? So generally in any company, they have design standards. Okay. So what they are expecting is that when you join as a designer, you're going to understand those design guidelines and you're going to promote them with every team that you work with. So regardless of whichever project you're working with, you're going to promote the same design guidelines, ensure consistency of experience. And that's what that means, Venus. So does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now that is the first step that you should be doing. Now let's go into your resume. Okay, so the first thing I would do is you would basically look at all that and try to bring it in. Now, like remember I said earlier, you have one skill that you completely undersold yourself on. Did you figure out what you were underselling yourself on?
No, Prasad.
What is your previous experience?
As a strategist.
So yeah, business strategy, right? Scroll down. So business strategy. So what were your activities? How did you reduce marketing budget by 28.8%? What did you do?
Actually, so that is something I shared with Shravani that I can't mention on my CV.
No, I'm not asking you to say specifically what the data was in that organization. Okay.
So, okay.
So I'm asking, what actions did you do? Did you talk with business folks? Did you look at the data? Did you do some Excel analysis? What did you do exactly there?
So the problem here was, I can just tell you that on an average, they had to spend an X amount to get applications, right?
Okay.
For example, the organic way of getting applications, if they had 80 seats, were somewhere around 12. So every time there is the desk is open and there are only 12 seats coming organically, and the rest they have to pump this money and do campaigns, billboard, and then they have to hire this marketing folks to accomplish that. So what I did is I went there, I had a contract with them. I told them that I asked the management to change the way the teachers and the instructors they work. So we did one thing, that we made them a parent assist, and we worked on them, and then we brought the marketing budget down to, lesser spend on the particular, that is 28.87%.
So what you did was you started connecting with the parents of the students.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So
that
is the main point, right? So what you did was you went in, you analyzed the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. What you realized, and again, this is how, you did it, but you're not able to put it in words, right?
Because it is hard to write.
It's what? No, it's not hard to write. It's absolutely not hard to write. It's basically.
No, I said a lot to write.
No, again, see, the point is, if you don't write it, nobody will give you credit.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're saying it's hard to write, so I'm not writing it. So, well, then how will you kind of get credit for what you've done? Right? So what you actually did was you actually problem solved the situation. You went in, you understood that there was no organic way of engaging, right? So there was all like an inorganic way of engaging where people were just coming in, or you were doing some advertisements or whatever, and people were just coming in and you were filling the positions, right? And so what you said was, if you can create organic strategies where, parents anyways want to talk to the teachers, let's bring them in, let's do these connection events and all that stuff. Now, immediately you are going to get a benefit for that, isn't it? And the benefit is what? Referrals. You're increasing referrals.
Yeah.
Right?
But that
and
is
that's
very
exactly how you want to write. So you basically reduce marketing budget by 28% by focusing on increasing referrals organically.
Yeah, but there were 6 more steps included, not this alone.
And that's okay. Tell me all the 6. Right? Because
So-
I'm very curious. And again, this is what it is, right? As an employer, I would love to know you because I want to make sure I'm hiring the correct person. Isn't it?
Yes.
But you have to give me the opportunity to know you. So I don't care if your first resume is 5 pages long. You can always reduce it. Okay. But at least make sure that you're explaining what you're doing, because we can edit it down to under 1 or 2 pages.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is one of your biggest opportunities. See, clearly you solve problems for the company, right? You were creative in your approach. Okay. But there is no way that anybody knows what you did, and therefore I cannot give you credit for it.
Exactly.
Right? And that is something that you need to definitely fix here. Okay. Now, here's the other issue. Okay. Now scroll back up. Now, remember how I say, like, were you creating a widget or were you solving a problem? In all of these projects, were you solving problems or you creating widgets?
So for interaction, solving problems and
Well, what problem were you solving? So, for example, Rent Easy. What problem did you solve on Rent Easy?
So the way traditionally user they get a apartment to rent. So I bought it. I made it online and I changed the experience.
So what problem were you solving?
So reducing this brokerage thing. I mean, no brokerage involved.
Okay, awesome. So you basically said that you basically created an online application. You designed an online application that would get rid of brokerage, right? Reducing the brokerage costs for people who are renting a house, as well as people who are landlords, as well as renters, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, it doesn't say anything there. Right? So again, I will just put it to everybody that's listening in here. If Kevin had said, my goal was to reduce the, look at the real estate problem where landlords are listing properties and renters are renting the properties, and they're paying significant amount of brokerage fees for, brokers, and you're basically, my goal was to reduce the brokerage. How would people feel about it, as opposed to saying, hey, I did user personas, scenarios, workflows, and the duration was 3 months? Right? So the challenge there is you need to communicate the problems you're solving. So when you say capstone quick meet, who knows what quick meet is? Nobody knows. It's up to everybody's imagination. Right? So you want to again talk about, well, what was the problem you were solving? What was a unique strategy for solving the problem? Because even when you're doing Rent Easy, now my question to you is, what strategy did you use to solve that problem? What was your creative contribution to that problem?
So I went to a website and I see how people hit the search query, and then I saw that a lot of people use they want to rent a property nearby. So I took this problem and I gave an experience, and I this is the way I solved it.
Okay, so you allowed people to what? Search for rental properties while they were driving around? Is that what it is?
No. Actually, while I was doing this project, right? So I was doing persona. So normally I had this need and core problems that they need to rent a apartment nearby to the office. But the core problem is that how do they know that the apartment listed on the website is nearby to the office? So then I went to just to justify, and I went and to put a supporting document. I went to the tool and I asked, what do people normally hit on the search query on the other website? So nearby keyword was the most used. So then I got.
This is very fascinating. You actually did quantitative research.
Yes.
Right. And again, you didn't even know that you did it. Hannah? So that is the point. So you did quantitative research where you basically, use secondary data to kind of tell you, okay, well, how do you, what do people look for? And you realize a lot of people search for nearby.
Yes.
Right?
To justify my
Nearby
priority.
to location X or whatever. So those were common queries. So you looked at common queries, and then you basically, you're using a query analysis tool or whatever. And then using that, then you were able to figure out that that was a specific problem, and then you solved it. That was a unique strategy. Right? So now notice how, as you're describing, you yourself get more confident about the problem you solved, isn't it?
Yes.
So that is what it is. I think the what you need to do is the standard strategy that you need to apply is absolutely one, you need to look at what the keywords are, what are they looking for, what have you done, and start connecting. Okay. Now, one thing that you can, and after that is done, then you basically talk about your specific projects. Okay. Now, all of these projects that you were doing, user research, interaction design, capstone, formative research, all of that stuff, right? Well, you weren't doing research or interaction for the sake of doing it. You were doing it to solve problems. So write down what were the 4 problems you solved, how did you solve them, and then what were the specific steps that you did, or what was the outcome that you got. You don't need to talk about apply CRUD, like, see, when somebody says I applied CRUD, okay, what does applying CRUD mean? Anybody can say I can apply CRUD, but the point is, well, why did you apply it, right? So you logically understood the different user personas. You said which user is going to have what kind of experience. You mapped all of that stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's not applying CRUD. That's strategy.
Okay. So why, if I mention something, why, then that is a strategy, right?
Yeah, so I mean, no, you did the strategy for like different personas, you understood and you mapped different experiences, leveraging the CRUD framework, isn't it?
Yeah, now I get it.
So that is what it is. So again, what you're doing is, the way you have written it is, it's very strongly underselling yourself, and it's assuming that the person who's going to read it will understand it. Okay. Then the second thing, coming to what Akash was saying, is having all those links, it is helpful. I'm actually arguing it is now not helpful, right? I would rather that you actually curate all of these projects, put them into a portfolio, and put the portfolio link up there. Okay? Because then people are looking for portfolio. They don't want to click 5 times and look at all the different projects. Okay? Now, one other component that came in is, should I put objectives? Okay. The answer to that is, well, what is the outcome that an objective does? Like, if somebody did not have any time, I just want to read the objective to understand what it is. So should I invest more time on your resume or not? So the objective is what it is. So if what you want to do is, you want to very clearly summarize yourself, and you want to say, listen, you are a problem solver with a practiced, with a history of solving key problems, right? And by the way, you have worked on multiple projects and you're very excited to be working here, right? So, I mean, you kind of have to massage it in a way, but clearly it is indicating you're leveraging your previous experience and how it is connected to the next current new experience. And then you're basically talking about, okay, this is what I've done. Okay. And then what you will do towards the bottom is, you'll put a skills section where you'll talk about, okay, you're talking about conceptual skills or like strategic skills. Then you're talking about tactical skills, artifacts and stuff like that, artifact level skills, as well as the outcomes that you're driving.
Yes.
Right. So once you write all of that, then when you look at it, it doesn't look like it's a junior person who doesn't know what they're doing. Right. So my argument would be that, I think there are a lot of things that you've done that you need to start incorporating and using the correct language, so that whoever is reading it, they are able to pick it up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
Yeah, very true.
Cool. So any questions or thoughts, guys?
Yeah,
I
have one.
listening. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Actually, I was thinking about cover letter, and actually I don't know what actually it means. So what is your thought on this?
So generally a cover letter, let's say you are not, modifying your resume for every job. Okay. A cover letter is usually nice to have, saying, hey, I've done these projects and stuff like that. This is why I'm relevant to you.
Okay.
Okay. But there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of discussion within the design community itself. Is there any value in doing a cover letter or not? And I've seen people say, there is no value because most people will ignore a cover letter.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is probably true as well, because even for me, before I read the cover letter, I'll very quickly look at the resume and then decide, okay, is this somebody I want to kind of work with, or is this somebody who's like an interesting resume? And then I'll quickly look at the cover letter afterwards. So my thought is a cover letter is a secondary thing. If you have the time and the energy to do it. But your primary document is your resume that you need to make sure that people are understanding and you're able to talk about what you've done in the language that people are expecting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Any other questions, guys, before we end this day today? So Achyut, you have a question or comment?
Yes, sir. I have a question actually. One thing is right now, after looking at Kevin's resume and getting this feedback, I kind of get to understand that it's not a good practice to have one fixed resume to apply for jobs. You must be iterating on your resume and make it relevant to the profile that you're applying. My another question was,
so just want to clarify, you are not going to modify more than 5 or 10% of your resume.
Yes, that
Okay.
5 to 10% I got it.
Yeah.
Yes. The core of it stays, but the rest 5 to 10% keeps changing.
Correct.
So my question was, as a beginner in the field of UX design, and also with the constraint that I come with a different experience before, which is not relevant to UX design per se. So in that case, how would I be portraying my portfolio? I'm sorry, my resume? Because for me personally, when given a chance to talk, I can definitely tell them as to, from the previous experiences, what I can contribute to design. For example, I have worked as a customer service associate. I've also worked as a partner sales manager, both ends where I understand a user and also a business strategy and things like that. When I'm talking, I can definitely put that into the conversation. But how do I present my resume in a relevant manner if the experience is not relevant?
See, again, relevant or not relevant is something that you have to believe in it, right? My argument is if you're a customer service guy, you probably have talked to a lot of people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I would assume, and you can prove me wrong, and again, I will never tell you to put something that is not true into your resume. Okay. But just by talking to people, now, are you comfortable with interviewing strategies or interviewing people?
Yes, definitely.
Right?
Because that's what made me comfortable somewhere.
Right. The second one is, are you comfortable distilling the core of the problem? What somebody is saying, are you able to distill and identify the core problem from the discussion?
Yes, and also be able to solve it.
Right. So that is insight generation skills.
Okay. Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So again, even if I was to start off as a researcher as my first job, I have to learn to do research. I have to still learn to interview people. I have to still learn to generate insights. I still have to learn to collaborate with other team members. And you've already done that.
Yes.
Right. So why not claim that as a skill? You can be very transparent and say, listen, I'm not a UX person, but I have deployed a lot of the similar techniques and strategies as part of my previous job.
Right.
So it's not to say that I'm a fresher. I've done that. I've been doing it for a long time. You've been also creating summary reports, which are basically research reports, isn't it?
Yes.
So these are things that you've already done. So why not take credit for the work that you have and the experience that is relevant?
Correct, sir.
Right. So my argument that I will put to everybody is, just because you don't have the same title does not mean that you do not have relevant experience.
Right. Correct.
Okay. So leverage the skills that you have learned and move them on to the next role.
Sure.
Cool.
Thank you so much, sir.
Awesome. Go ahead, Simran.
Hey Prasad, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I have two questions. One is, what are your thoughts on having an aesthetically pleasing resume as opposed to a Word document? That's question number one. Second question is, you advised Kevin to slightly tweak the resume to sort of suit the job you're applying for, right? So how about tweaking portfolios as well, which would sort of cater to that?
Good question, right? So I think, what was your first question?
About aesthetically pleasing resumes.
So aesthetically pleasing resumes definitely do get noticed very quickly.
Even by a tracking system?
A tracking system, probably not.
Yeah, so
Okay.
to bypass that, like if I'm applying for Google, let's say, if they see some colors that probably the tracking system doesn't
Let
understand.
me actually put it to you this way, right? I heard a lot of insane metrics about Google. You're talking like, 50,000 resumes a day or whatever, like some insane number of resumes, right? But even then, the majority of the people that get jobs are through referrals.
Okay.
Okay. So the ATS system in a lot of these big companies is basically a recipe for getting lost. Okay. So you may get noticed, you may not get noticed, but you're leaving a lot to chance. Okay. So generally what also happens is you want to get noticed. If you want to get hired by a company like Google and you are a guy with a lot of experience, right? You want to be building your brand, right? So that is the way you build your brand, you make it interesting for other folks to kind of start noticing you, you start building your connections within that community. And then a lot of times there are recruiters that are dedicated to recruiting on Google, right? Oh, sorry, on LinkedIn, right? So what you need to do is you need to build in a strong enough portfolio and all that stuff, and then build in a strong enough network so you get noticed by these folks. Okay. So in your game plan, if you are, if you are a person with experience, getting into Google is a different game. You can't just be saying, I'm going to get into an ATS system. Okay. Now, let us say this game was changed for someone like Kevin, right? He doesn't have any experience and he's trying to break into it, right? So then the chances are that he needs to now either have, somebody who's willing to refer them into the system, because again, referrals are generally weighted more because clearly, somebody who's working in the company knows the company, and so they are saying this person would be a good match, right? So referrals automatically get a lot more attention than otherwise. Or alternatively, Kevin should have graduated from one of those top schools that Google will go and recruit from, right? So, and again, it's not to say that Google is looking for degrees, because Google is definitely moving away from degrees and all that stuff, at least in the US. But as far as India is concerned, it's a lot easier to just go to a prestigious institution and hire somebody. Right? So overall, I think you need to have a different strategy to get noticed by those kinds of companies.
Okay.
Okay. So now what was your second question?
About tweaking portfolios to apply for certain things.
Right. So here's an interesting point. Okay. So, and I kind of understand that philosophy, and I partially agree with that philosophy. So there was a very interesting post that I saw on LinkedIn where this person said, listen, I applied to 100 jobs, right? Out of 100 jobs, 25 jobs asked me to do a task. Okay. I realized that I'm wasting my time doing a task. Okay. And so what I did was I just ignored them and I kept moving forward. So what this person did was he used the time, let's say 25 companies were saying, and it's 25 times, let's say 10 hours, right? 250 hours this person saved. Instead of that, he basically kept applying for new companies. So applying to a new company takes me only about, let's say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Okay. So I'm basically going to apply for more companies to get my first job, as opposed to basically wasting my time doing tasks, because that is just more efficient. Okay. Now I get that. I like that philosophy, but that philosophy only works when there's a huge demand for talent, but the quality of talent is, or the talent is not available, right? In an Indian ecosystem, I would question how well that would work, partly because there's so many fake resumes out there that no employer is willing to trust the quality of that resume, right? However, given that you, in your specific case, Simran, given that you have a well-known brand behind you, it's a different game altogether. Okay, so does that answer your question, Simran?
It does, but I'm asking, maybe I'll illustrate a little more on the second thing. When I say tweak the portfolio, so for example, let's say I'm applying to Google and I'm applying to UX Reactor.
Mm-hmm.
So UX Reactor ideally is a design service agency that takes design from companies, fixes it, and gives that. I mean, that's just a high level thing. And Google is a product company that does this. And let's say I want to get into the Google Calendar team. So if I have my portfolio that I'm applying to Google alone, that is very calendar focused or booking focused and stuff like that. Whereas when I'm applying for, like, say, UX Reactor, I have multiple domains that I worked in. So to sort of make sure that this company takes notice, and Google Calendar would take notice as well.
Actually, I would argue otherwise. Okay, so regardless of whether you're going into a big company, whether you're going into a company that's focused on a single product or a company that's focusing on multiple products, right? It doesn't matter, because companies like to see diversity of thought. Okay. So, you worked on calendaring, then you worked on gaming, then you worked on something else. So when I look at the whole breadth of your experience, I realize that, you've done a lot of different things. And so you are now able to bring a lot of experience to solve this one specific problem. Okay. So within design teams, there is a metric, which is diversity. We look for diversity when we are hiring our teams. Okay. And you want the more diversity you can communicate, and and it needs to be good diversity, right? You need to clearly communicate that you understand all this and how you're connecting everything together. Okay. So that is something that you want to be able to bring in. So just saying one company will not cut it, right? Or just one product will not work.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Awesome. So I think this Somesh from YouTube is asking, I recently saw a resume in visual design format theme of a Google search result page. So does this help in getting your resume noticed, or does this just clutter the resume? So I know exactly what you're talking about, Somesh. This is a specific resume. I think if my recollection right, we're probably talking about the same resume. It was done by a marketing company. It wasn't actually a real resume, but it was a marketing campaign of some sort. However, right, if your resume is going to be seen by people, that's a really good way to get noticed, right? And again, there's nothing wrong in making it different, but do make sure that it is indexable by the search engine, by their application tracking system, so that you can then be identified as like a potential candidate. But again, your strategy, the customization strategy will work if you are, let's say, on a campus recruitment drive and you're giving your resume to somebody, or let's say you are at a conference and you meet somebody from a company that you like and you're giving them your resume. That will get noticed, right? So these are all things that will help you kind of get a leg up compared to everybody else. So hope that answers your question, Somesh. So go ahead, Shrikar. So one other thing, I think I forgot. I was going to give one more piece of feedback to Kevin, but anyway, Shrikar, ask your question, and then if I remember, I'll come back to that feedback for Kevin.
Yeah. So my question is towards preparation of a resume. So I mean, after all this discussion, should we prepare a resume for the HR or the ATS? I mean,
I think you have to do it for both.
Okay. So, I mean, if we are doing it for both, I think the hierarchy of the information might change, right? So if, I mean, what kind of decisions will a HR be making looking at the resume?
See, the HR is basically primarily going to be looking at, okay, do you have experience? How many years of experience do you have? Are there any brands in there that they recognize? So that will kind of automatically pump it all up. Are there, the tools that they mentioned, Figma, Photoshop, whatever, are those things in there or not? Is there a link to a portfolio or not? So those are the things that the HR is very quickly going to look at it and evaluate it. Okay. The ATS on the other side is just looking for keywords. So if as long as the keyword exists on your resume and it is readable by the software, that's no problem. Because I know there's another person, there's a question asked on YouTube, which was, hey, can I do a vector thing? Well, if you do a vector thing, a vector component might not necessarily be readable as text. Right. So that is where you will probably have a problem. So again, that's the difference. And again, all of this is assuming that you're applying to a company with an ATS system and all that. A lot of cases, you might just be, sending in your resume to a connection, and in which case none of this matters. Because again, that is why I say building your brand and building your network, again, as part of this community is that important, because just the fact that you know somebody and you're sharing it to somebody will have a huge impact, because they're directly walking it to the recruiter rather than just sending it through some kind of anonymous system.
True. Yeah. So
cool.
I have one more thing. I mean, will this metric be? I mean, in the future, will this metric be important? So what I'm just thinking out loud right now. So I think recruiters can straight away reject candidates who cannot even design their own resumes, right? Because UX design is a specialized field. Where, where each and every thing that we do is some way or the other relates to design, right? So if we as UX designers are unable to design our own resume, will that be a straight away no?
See, my argument is I don't want, the Google resume, like a search engine resume, a visual resume, is an extreme case. Okay. Right? My point is, how many hours are you spending on that customization? And of course, in that case, maybe the individual absolutely wants to get into Google and that's their dream. I can buy that. Okay, that level of effort is justifiable. Okay. However, if you're just like saying, I just want to apply, and you just need to make it clean, understandable, scannable, and visually pleasing. Right? You don't have to do a lot of rocket science around it. And in fact, there are a lot of tools out there available that will help you create visually pleasing resumes. Okay, so you don't even have to spend a lot of time just designing your resume. As long as it's visually pleasing, the appropriate pieces of information are clearly visible, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, so when I mean designing, it's all, even the research component, let's say if the company that I'm working into, is this using ATS, or should I be designing for HR, designing in terms of every component that we use in UX design, let's say from research to interaction to visual hierarchy to information hierarchy, each and everything.
So I don't think you need to talk about everything, just because the JD asked for it, right? But do talk about stuff that you have done.
Okay.
Does that explain? My thing is, I'm very strongly against creating fake resumes. Okay. And this is the example I just remembered. So for example, Kevin, right? Somebody asked, should you put hobbies or not? Right. And Kevin said, yeah, electric stuff. And the way he talked about is, I love electric cars. I love, marketing them. I love batteries. I love this. So he was just really passionate about that. Right. Now, the question is, like, if it comes to people, if you put something as a hobby or whatever, you should be able to defend it. Right? And not even as a hobby. No matter what you put on your resume, you should be able to defend it. And that's why I asked Kevin the question, what's the difference between a capacitor and a battery? Right? He wasn't able to answer that. And so in my mind, I was like, yeah, he's really not that passionate about it. Right. Okay. So there is a negative. So it could have been a positive where we both like batteries, we both like electronic cars. And if Kevin was able to kind of convince me, then we would bond on that. And he would always stick in my mind as the guy who also likes car batteries. So he will always be there in my mind, top of mind. Right. But because he wasn't able to answer it, I will always remember him as the guy who said something, but he could not back it up. Right. So that is why I say always put stuff that you are sure about, that you have done, that you can defend. Okay. Cool. Does an interaction resume make a plus point for a designer? So I'm assuming this is Nivya who's asking from YouTube, and she's probably saying, if I make my resume interactive, is it going to be positive? That is your online portfolio, Nivya. So when you say an interactive resume, that's what, a lot of people will create an online portfolio. And it may be positive, may not be positive. Again, the question that I will ask you is, what is the value of putting X amount of hours and what is the benefit that you're going to get out of it? Okay. So my argument would be that, you need to basically do the bare minimum that communicates your experience as well as your competence. And that is good enough, because once people realize you're good, they'll pick up the phone, they'll talk to you, right? And again, the more you do, the more chances there are that you'll go wrong, which is like, exactly with what Kevin did. He put in extra pieces of information about himself that could have been positive, but you don't know what questions you're going to get or how it's going to turn around and hit you. So why even take a risk on something that is not necessary at that point? Okay, hope that answers your question, Nivya. Go ahead, Palak. So can you turn on your camera?
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Actually, my camera is bad, not working.
Okay, no worries.
Sir, I want to ask that if we do not learn anything from our previous internship, or I can say that first internship, so how will I give interview in future? I can be asked in the company, what did you learn from your first internship? Just because as a fresher, I should be given a work. So if I will write in my experience in my resume, they will ask me how was your first internship and what if they taught you, what would I say, how will I answer to them?
So Palak, I'm assuming you mean it's a situation where you were in an internship but you were not given any work, is that right?
Yeah, actually they keep giving me a work. I'm actually doing an internship in Margdarshan, but this company is keep giving me a work, and I keep showing them a work, but they did not get any taught me like anything in the part of.
Like you
Actually,
don't
to be
get any
very
work?
honest, I don't know how to prototype properly, and I don't know how to launch a website or app on Figma.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I will jump into another job, so how would I explain to them that if I do not know anything? Because as a fresher, doesn't mean that they keep giving me a work and work.
See, I think there are two components to it, right? The first one is who's responsible for your career, right?
Okay.
So who do you think is responsible for your career, Palak?
Obviously me.
Right? So whether the company gives you work or not, it's your job to figure out what you need to learn.
So I feel like these 3 months have been wasted for me because I did not learn anything new in this internship. So I feel like stuck.
So that's okay, right? So I mean, the thing is, okay, there are a couple of things that you can do. So obviously you're getting work in your company, but that is not directly relevant to the next job that you want. Is that correct?
Okay.
Is that correct, Palak?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what you're basically saying is, see, that's okay, right? So you basically go in internship up to 3 to 9 months is fine. Okay. So applying for another internship is good. It's not a big issue, right? But I would also say start practicing on the side, get into practice your tools, practice, and learning a tool is not really that difficult, Palak. Honestly, you might be able to pick it up in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. And it's relatively fast, relatively easy. And I think we have members within our own community, like this Saddal, who basically did such a phenomenal job with the tool in under a week or so. So I think, you should just reach out to other members and talk to them and just say like, hey, can you help me with this tool? And we have a lot of tool videos as well. So just watch those, practice those tools, build up that skill. Okay.
Yeah, I learned from the YouTube.
Yeah. So YouTube may be, understand there are two different ways of learning on a tool, right? So using the tool correctly versus being able to know what all the features do, right? They're two different things. Knowing what all the features do is good, but it's not what you need in a job. Knowing which feature to use when and the correct way of doing it is what you need in the job. Okay. So focus on YouTube or wherever. And again, YouTube is a really great source. Focus on videos that will basically tell you how to use the tool correctly. Okay. And that will be really, really helpful. So again, you might spend just a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, pick up those skills. Okay, then, another simple thing that I would say is just take a website, try to reverse engineer it, duplicate it. That is a very interesting exercise. The second one is creating interactive click-through prototypes. So just take let's say, Gmail or whatever. And then, Saddal actually did a really interesting presentation on that. But, you can just take Gmail and reverse engineer it and use your tool to prototype it. And once you do those 2 or 3 kinds of exercises and you get comfortable with it, you can literally put in the tool on your resume and go for it.
Okay, I got it.
But doing the tool competence is the bare minimum, because especially if you're hiring, internship mein ye hota hai, generally, you're not sure whether the individual is the right individual or not. So most companies assume that money is just marketing money. Let's bring somebody as an intern and let's decide if we want to hire them full time or not. Okay. So internship is a different game, but especially when I'm hiring full time, I want to make sure that the person can execute on day one. And so for that, tool competence is bare minimum that you need to be able to do. Okay.
ओके बट ये है कि अगर मैं जॉब करूंगी तो मैं उनको ट्रू बताऊं ना कि मेरे साथ इंटर्नशिप में प्रीवियस इंटर्नशिप में ये हुआ
नहीं, I think बताने का जरूरत नहीं है, because the moment you say, and I think this is a really good question, right? So for example, if you interview with me and you come to me and you say, Palak, you don't know this tool, and you say, see, my previous interview was internship was so bad that they didn't teach me the tools, they didn't do this, they didn't do this. My reaction is going to be, man, she's just blaming the company, right? She didn't actually take care of her responsibility. It was her job to build her career, right? And she did 3 months of it, and then at the end of it, she's blaming that the other company is not responsible. Is responsible for it, then what is her accountability in this? So I'm not going to hire you because you're not accountable to the job.
Okay.
Right? So you never want to talk about like, okay, I did not do this, they didn't do this, they do this, because the question that the interviewer will have is, well, what was in your hands? Could you have learned it? Right? And if the answer is yes, then I think it was your fault. It was not that company's fault, because it's that company's job to get its work done. But it is your job to learn design for your next job, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good.
So never criticize a previous company when you could have done something to improve it by yourself.
Okay. Got it.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Chalo then. But these are all really, really good questions. And I think I appreciate the honesty and the genuineness that, and the vulnerability that you show when you ask me these questions. And thank you very much, Kevin, because, you're not the only one that's like, trying to build a career in UX when you're starting. And so there's so many people that have the exact same problem as you. So, I appreciate your courage and your openness for feedback. So thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Shravani is here. I want to give her thanks.
Sorry, I don't think Shravani is here.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. All right.